time for, hold your hand, brother, thank you. Okay, let's see. Let's talk about subdivision. Let's go back to clarify that in regards to the process moving forward, because a lot of people are just eager and ready to go. I can see that as far as the Skid Row Neighborhood Council. So now that the Skid Row, let's talk about timeline as far as the application. So as far as the subdivision process that has just got approved last month, it's before the city attorney's office right now, and they're, again, as I said already, they're dotting the I's and crossing the T's in regards to exactly what that language is going to be, right? So now, what Dylan, the general manager, Gracie Lou, has alluded to is that right now, Dylan is the Department of Neighborhood Power who oversees the neighborhood councils. And so they are going to oversee and accept our application process. So the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, they're called Dylan or Empower LA, it's the same entity. They're based on the 20th floor in City Hall. So now, what has to happen now, they have come out and publicly said and told City Council they don't want to start accepting any neighborhood council, any new applications until after next year's neighborhood council elections, which will be in June of 2016. So that means we will not have anything before June of 2016. So now they have also said, and I was trying to print out the paperwork, but my printer broke, so we don't have that. And so anyway, I don't have the information on print, but I can tell you this. So after that, they said once they are done with the elections and they seat the new boards, they will be ready to begin to take, they want to have no more than 5 applications of new communities when they become neighborhood councils per session. And that period will begin in October of 2016, will be the time. So hopefully we will be able to be together, have meetings, and be up and running, but well before then, so that we can turn in our application in October of 2016. Once we do that, there's a review process of our application and any other applicants' applications, and they are anticipating that the actual election of the subdivision, meaning us breaking away from D-Lake, will possibly be somewhere early in 2017. Is everybody understand the timeline and the time frame of us? So, and that's not us. So now understand, now let me say this, as far as Skid Row, how we do. That is what is being proposed. That is not etched in stone, so there's still some room if we want to get in there and like change those dates, move them up, move them forward, fast forward, do something. But the problem is we have to get our stuff together first before we go running up in City Hall demanding stuff and we not ready. That would be greatly embarrassing, not only to us but as to our community as a whole. We don't, that's why this is a slow process. It's a long, drawn-out process. We've been doing this since the summer of 2014. People are just now finding out. We have to get to this point. Now we got to get to the next point. So, with that, now we know the timeline. Now, again, another agenda item is the Salvation Army project. That's what a lot of folks came here for. And so, seeing that those folks did not show up, we're going to go to the emails. Hold your questions. So, I was contacted by, everybody, I'm speaking as if everyone knows what the Salvation Army Project is. So let me just give a little background. Right here, 5 blocks away, on 5th Street and Stanford, there is a building, Salvation Army. One is the big building called Harbor Light. One right across the street is the sister building, which was Safe Harbor. Safe Harbor was for females only. A lot of services for vets and others in our community. That Salvation Army closed that down in 2009, and it's sat vacant ever since. All of a sudden, that building was bought by a new owner, and now they are proposing to create the efficient city apartments. And since the presenters aren't here, I will present that project. And so just know, I happened to find out about it going to various meetings, and I wrote an article in an online news magazine called City Watch. And so I was contacted by Estella Lopez. Estella Lopez, many of you know, she used to be the executive director of the Central City East Association of the Red Shirts. And so she's now in the private sector working for an organization called Kendall Gagan. So anyway, Estella Lopez and Kendall Gagan are actually representing the owners of this project. So I put that article out because I was pushing out their Skid Row's perspective, the fact that we have all these homeless folks on the sidewalks and they want to build a project that actually does not cater to our needs. So I got an email from Estella Lopez that said, "Hey Jeff, hope this finds you well. I read your comments regarding the 813 East 5th Street on City Watch. It's clear you have some concerns. Let's talk. Would you be available for coffee soon?" Estella Lopez, Kendall Gagan. My whole thing is I had a big problem with that because she just wants to meet with me one-on-one. I think that they need to speak to the whole community. I don't like doing one-on-ones. You know, everybody wants to just meet with me and me only. I thought they need to meet with all of us. So I told her that. She responded. No, this was my response to her. "Ms. Lopez, thank you for contacting me. Indeed, I do have concerns, some of which I shared in the article, others I decided to withhold until later in the process. My delay in responding is because I need to gather feedback from others in Skid Row, and the consensus is that we would like for your team to officially present to us. Yes. And as the chair of the Skid Row Neighborhood Council Formation Committee, and on behalf of the Skid Row residents I represent, I request said presentation be made where we can provide feedback. Yes. And once again, I will take the responsibility of organizing said special presentation in Skid Row." And the reason why I said in Skid Row, because I found out in October that they were going to other communities to get letters of support from them. For instance, this was an agenda from Little Tokyo Community Council, where on October 27th, it says in the meeting, you can verify for me, item number 1, presenting on new housing project in Central City East. So I'm thinking, why would Little Tokyo have that on their agenda? Confirm that? Yes. So we can, I'm wondering why is a new housing project in Central City East, which we all know is Skid Row, who's presenting that in Little Tokyo? And so of course I had to go. I couldn't get anybody to go with me. I went by myself, saw the presentation. Estella Lopez and Greg Fisher. And so what's interesting about Greg Fisher, he used to work at Jan Perry's office when Jan Perry had this part of Skid Row back in the days before redistricting. And now Jose Weezer is our council member. So anyway, Greg Fisher is a principal partner in an organization called LA 1781 Inc. And they also are on the team that's promoting and handling this project. So what is this project? I'll get back to Greg Fisher in a moment. This project is called the Efficient City Apartments. What it is they want to build market rate micro units in this building, 132 of them. What that means is, they said during the presentation, it would be between 200 to 300 square feet. It's really small. On average, 214 out of all of the units. And the average price point would be about $1,000 a month. And they're calling that affordable housing because they're going after students who cannot afford to $3,000 to $5,000 a month rent in the skyscrapers in South Park and other luxury condos or in downtown. So in their eyes, this is affordable market rate housing. We put this on the agenda tonight because we need to weigh in as a community on this housing project that's in our community, which is a block away from the Fred Jordan Mission. We need to weigh in on that, and we're going to have a vote on that project tonight. Even with the limited scope, they had the opportunity to be here. The last email I got from Estella Lopez, after I said to meet in front of the whole community, okay, so let's get together first, me and you, to talk about the process, outcomes, etc. I do this for all projects I work on. It's really helpful for me to get a sense ahead of time. In this way, I can better prepare my client to do the presentation that will be most informative and helpful. Coffee next week. And that's Estella Lopez. She still invited me to coffee because she wants to speak to General Jeff one-on-one when I already told her you're not gonna meet with me, you're gonna meet from the whole community. So we put this forum together, we invited them, and this was the last email I got from her. Hello, Jeff. Our team will not be available for a presentation on December 22nd. May we talk about selecting a date for an evening meeting in January after the holidays? And I didn't bother to respond any longer because we're talking about October. This is 2 months later. They had 2 months to come. If they've been knowing about this project, they've been working on it for over a year, is what they said at one of the Little Tokyo meetings. They had 2 presentations in Little Tokyo, and they had one before the Downtown Los Angeles Neighborhood Council's Planning Committee. So they're having all these other meetings all around us, but they're not talking to us. And I just find that kind of odd. And so we reached out to them, and again, let's have coffee. Shh, me and you have coffee. Don't worry about it. No. Meet with us. So anyway, in the project is 160 total units. On average is 240 square feet. 132 of them will be market rate micro units, and in the small safe harbor building, it will be 28 units for homeless veterans. There are no amenities. There's a rooftop amenities on the harbor light. You know, they're talking about possibly having first floor retail. In the presentation when they showed, they had these wonderful renderings of, you know, people walking the dogs, and, you know, sidewalk dining, and, you know, parking lots with, you know, nice cars. And they're going to have, you know, bicycle, a loading station, loading docks, and whatever else. So that's pretty much the project. You know, regular efficiency bathrooms in each of the units, and on and on and on. So with that said, are there any questions on that project? We see hands. Ms. Luis.
Why would they come in a predominantly homeless community and build a project that will not benefit the community? That's what people do. They come on Skid Row and see dollars and kick people to the curb, and it's not going to happen.
I read your articles, Jeff. I believe that there was a discrepancy in the way that the neighborhood council went about that, and that there were some voting members who no longer qualify to be, that were on the committee that approved it. Is that correct?
That is a separate matter. That is a Downtown Los Angeles Neighborhood Council matter. We're just speaking on the project itself. But yes, you're correct.
So then the next thing I would say to everybody that's here is, you know, Skid Row has always been organized. And that's why Skid Row still exists today, because back in, I think it was '84, the Blue Book and the Silver Book were 2 competing plans. And when the community organized, we still remain today. So we together, you know, if we don't want this project, need to get organized, and I hope y'all with us on that. Because just like we stopped the New Genesis project, we can stop this project if it ain't in our best interest.
That's right.
And also understand, if we had a neighborhood council, then we could actually, you know, demand that they actually present to us, and city council and city hall would actually go along and have our back, and also tell them and instruct them that they need to be contacting us as far as giving a letter of support.
Yeah, I talked to Steve Diaz of LA 10, for those of you that know, and he wanted me to speak at D-Link actually against this proposal because he says that it will not help Skid Row residents, and one of the buildings specifically falls under the Wiggins shelter. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that specific ordinance, so it's landmark, as much as so I have to do more research, of course, but this gives us a little bit more information as to why it will not benefit us. It's not going to serve our interests. Because these are micro lofts and they're not affordable, at least not by our standards. Affordable to them was like $5,000 a month.
Thank you. Any other hands?
I just want to point out that the history of the building with the Salvation Army, it was, you know, a resource center for the homeless. It was a homeless shelter. So if you want to make that shift from the history of the building to something new, the burden of proof is on the people who want to make the shift. The burden of proof that it should just retain its heritage is not on us. The burden of proof is on them. The truth of the matter, we're actually in an incredibly powerful position.
I'm curious to know if they've actually, researched whether there's currently veteran housing needed in the community, since I know that a lot of the new housing going up currently in Skid Row is actually supporting the needs of veterans with some of the new buildings that gone up. So I'm curious and also concerned that dollars are currently being allocated that support the needs of veterans a lot of times when it comes to housing. So I'm concerned that people are not chasing the dollars, but creating where the dollars need to go.
Thank you. I can't speak to that because I'm not one of the presenters and it's not my project and I have not done the research on that. Of course I have a personal opinion, but because we have a pending vote, I don't want to influence your decision. OG.
Mr. Chair, most committees come out and develop because of issues. So this issue, if there was council falling from the planning committee, so maybe you need to put together a planning committee, those who that want to participate, so that we can have a group of people that can speak out, and represent us, you know what I mean?
I absolutely agree with that, and because we have not put together any committees other than the Arts and Culture Subcommittee, that's why I asked them to present directly to us here until we break down into any type of committees as per you and Brother Deacon have suggested. Any other hands and questions and discussion on this matter? Don Garza.
Yes, I know Michael Gates, I know him often when we started neighborhood council, and I was on their side of a lot of things. But unfortunately, there was a promise made by that man right there, James Wood. We're in the building named after him. Back in the 1970s, when they had that city business district redevelopment project area, and they fought over this area, and his promise was, he sat out here when this was Steve's Corner, and they had drums, and they had the fire, and those drums, and it was cold out. He stood up there as a union leader, and he said, I promise that the hotels here, we're going to rehabilitate them, because he at the time was the chair of the community redevelopment agency that no longer exists. He made that promise that these buildings, these hotels, would go to the people on the street. I do not think that we should get away from what he promised, and we should continue to at least finish rehabbing the last hotels in Skid Row. And even though we're building from the ground up now, we didn't foresee that coming, which is awesome too, but we need to go ahead and continue to move forward in this community and say that building is for people, homeless veterans, homeless women, anybody that is on these streets and struggling. That's what we should continue to preserve that contract for, not for people from film. Because let me tell you something, they're going to bring in more drugs than anybody. They're going to bring in crystals, they're going to bring their party, and they're going to be the ones out on the street buying that stuff. I'm not going to. I know what those college kids do.
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion on this topic? Okay, so now, yes, John Malpe, Los Angeles Market Department.
So there's another journal called, I forget what it's called, but anyway, it's very pro this project, and there's a couple posts on it, and they refer to it continually as Skid Row adjacent, and in the seafood district.
Right.
So
Seafood district.
yeah, it's the seafood district, and it's Skid Row adjacent. So that's the kind of misinformation that is also out there.
Any other discussion? Okay, folks, so now we have before us an item, a housing project in Skid Row called the Efficient City Apartments. 160 units total, 132 of them are market rate micro units. 28 of them will be for homeless veterans. And let me say this, of the 28 homeless veterans housing units, they are not specifically for Skid Row homeless veterans. Any veteran, homeless veterans from anywhere in the city can actually get any one of those 28 units. Hold on, we have a conversation from Brent. After this, we're going to close the discussion.
Wow, we know the vets need to be covered. Ain't nobody mad at the vets. But I don't know who's proposing this city council dollar do up here, $1,000 a month. Vets got theirs coming. I'm all with the vets. But once again, man, I'm gonna do it again. Unity. They're not gonna listen if you ain't hollering. They're not gonna hear you if you won't say it. And you gotta have numbers, and we got plenty of that. So either get down or sit down. And once you sit down, you're mad because all this mess going on around you. Well, you're the one who won't change it either.
Okay, we can close the discussion. Also, too, let me just say, when I saw their presentation, they had zero security plan. So the parking lot that's right immediately across the street from Cash 21 was basically wide open. There's no security gate, there's no security guards. There's no security. They said they'll probably have cameras. They're working on it. They're talking with WPD right now to try to figure something out. Well, last month I went to the CPAP meeting at the White Guard Center, which is the Central Police Advisory Board. So Central Division, Captain Orr and Brady Metcalf are the co-chairs, and Officer Joseph and a whole bunch of other senior leads were there. And after the meeting, I pulled Captain Orr to the side and said, so what is LAPD's position on this efficient city apartments? He said, I don't know anything about it. And so we're still trying to, oh, is that my timer? Ooh, I'm running on. So anyway, yeah, so there's no security plan, and as far as the veterans housing, there was no social service provider partner named in terms of who we're going to partner up with to provide services. We don't even know if there's going to be on-site service or if they're just going to drop keys in their hands. That's how loose and limited the presentation was, and that's why we really wanted them to present to us so we can ask the probing questions to really help them out to understand. Personally, my concerns are that they'll be having these film students and USC students that really don't know anything about our community drop them right there on 15th Gladys, and we all know what that is. And it's like dropping sheep in the lion's den. And all of a sudden, bad things going to happen. There's going to be negative reflection on our community, positive things of what we're trying to do. So, you know, and for me, I'm concerned for the safety of those potential residents. But again, this project is proposed. And so because it is proposed, we actually can weigh in on that. And so this right here is historic because this is the first item that the Skid Row Neighborhood Council Formation Committee will officially be weighing in on. Okay, so right now is a motion. We're putting it out there on the table. Either we support it or we oppose it. I need Brother Wendell to get it with a vote again, please. Discussion is over. Thank you. So all of those that are in support of the efficient city apartments, please raise your hand. Okay, all of those, okay. Did you get a count? I see you grab a pen, but okay. And so now all of those who oppose the efficient city apartments, please raise your hand. Okay, I think are you still calculating? It's kind of close. Okay. There it is there. We have decided. So as the chair, I will actually officially submit, put together a letter. I will have, just as we've done in the past, Ms. Catherine McNinney will actually post it to the Skid Row Neighborhood Council Facebook page, because currently I'm not on Facebook. I guess I'm kicking up too much dust and I'm blocked. But we can still communicate. And so someone will put that up there. We'll have a discussion on Skid Row community only in terms of if the letter looks sufficient, because we have to submit this before we can actually have another meeting. And so we're going to put it out there. If everybody likes it and agrees with it, we'll sign off on it and send it on up to City Hall and get in on, send it to Kendall, send it to Stella Lopez, and send it to Kendall Gagan, and send it to LA 1781 Inc., and send it all the way up to city council member and the mayor and everybody else, so it, and the ZA, zoning, so it can get in on the file for that project. So, matter of fact, let's give us a hand for making history that we actually come together. First official action. Now, we're going to take a break from the agenda, and we're going to just open up for discussion. Michelle had her hand up. Do you still